What's up, boys and girls? My name is Cowwy and welcome back to the Carrot Club. So let's get back to the whole building routine on this landscape island, which I haven't finished yet and probably won't finish because I royally messed it up when I made the landscape too big. If you look at the outline, it is around 1200 blocks, which is beyond the block limit once I have placed the grass on it. You see this little tiny part right here on this island? That's about 20,000 blocks. So don't do that. In today's video, we're going to reset this island and build the most requested landscape, which is the cave. So you guys get to see from start to finish how to build one. The materials that I'm going to be using are a bunch of stones, gravel, grass, a combination of wood, and a lot of decorative items. All vary in amount since I don't know how big you're going to make it. The first thing I did was reset this mess called an island and get a fresh start. You don't have to reset your islands, of course. Don't reset your island. So I'm standing on this amazing starter island. Of course, got myself another Roblox trophy before I start. Before you can actually build a cave, you need some space for your entrance. I'm going to use the back of the spawn as my cave entrance. For you guys, you can just pick a random spot on your island and use that as your entrance. If you don't have enough space, you can just build a small spot for it. When you have found your happy place on your island, we're going to start building all the paths and tunnels inside the cave first. To do that, we just start building outward from the main island. The size of the path matters because if you build it too narrow, it'll look like a maze. If you build it too big, it'll look like a hallway. So the path that I'm building is 4 blocks wide and the direction that I'm building are all random. As long as you are happy with the path, shapes, and size, that's all that matters. So this is what I have built. Right at the beginning, you can see that there is a fork that splits the cave into 2 different directions. I make sure that the path have some twists and turns to make it look interesting. The path also goes somewhat up and down as well. The most important part is that your path stays 4 blocks wide consistently. If you look at the build so far from the sky, it is a small cave. That's because we haven't built up the walls yet. Once the wall is up, you'll see that this tiny cave is actually really big. The second thing we need to take care of is making space for rooms inside the cave. So at the end of each path, I'm going to build a decent sized patch of grass which is going to be our rooms. Again, when we look at this from the sky, make sure you like what you see because the next step is building up the walls. Once the wall is up, it is very difficult to change anything. So now that you're happy with the path, tunnels, and the rooms, the next step is to build up the wall, which is actually a cliff. If you haven't seen any of the cliff build that I did, check out the video here. It will explain how I built a cliff from start to finish. For this build, I'm only going to briefly describe how I built the cliff and turning the path into a cave. The first thing I do is build an outline around the entire path. I'm building it further away from the path so I have enough space for the walls inside the cave. This outline will show you how big your cave actually is. If your outline is more than 200 blocks, I suggest you shrink your cave size because it'll take a long time to build up the walls. Now when we look at the outlines from the sky, we can see how big the cave actually is. The tiny path we built in the beginning actually turned out to be quite massive. The next step is to finish the cliff. Now I'm going to make this as simple as possible for myself because building a cliff block by block takes a lot of time. I'm going to show you briefly how I built up the wall so you won't get confused as to what I'm doing. So let's say these blocks here are the outline. The only thing I'm doing is adding blocks on top, 3 to 6 blocks high. Simple, right? This is what I call a layer. Then the second step, I'm using gold as an example so you know what I did, is to build behind this wall. And then I built up again 3 to 6 blocks high. This will be the second layer. So now that you know what I did, all you have to do is keep repeating these steps until it looks like a cave with 4 to 5 layers high. So the type of cliff that I'm building is a platform type where the top is completely flat like this. This cliff is about 4 to 5 layers high, so you're looking at around 15 to 20 blocks. You don't have to do what I did. If you want a mountain, all you have to do is keep building up. Now that we got a wall on the outside, we need to do the same thing for the inside. Instead of building on top of an outline, we're going to build around the perimeters of the path. When you are building this, keep in mind that you don't build too high. This is a path, and you also need to build the ceilings of the cave. Here is a small section of the wall. It is only 4 blocks wide and 5 to 6 blocks high, and you're going to do that for the entire path. When you walk around the inside now, it looks more like a cave and sometimes you might get lost. The last thing to do is build up the walls around the room. The room needs to be a bit bigger and taller than the path. I used the same technique as the cliff to build it up because you're inside the cliff now. It should look somewhat consistent. There is no right or wrong way of building this as long as it looks like a room. When you're finished, you should have a full room inside the cliff. My room is about 12 blocks high. As you can see, it is quite big. You can use this for storage or a small farm. So if you have reached this point, you are basically done and you can feel free to decorate it however way you like. Now of course, I'm not done with it yet. I'm going to do a little bit of decoration to make the cave feels like a cave. But now I'm done with this. I think this tiny cave took a lot longer than it looks. Landscaping is never easy to build in the first place, especially when you have to do it block by block. So I hope that I made it easier for you with this video. Thank you boys and girls for watching, and I'll see you in the next video in-game or at the Carrot Club. Take care everybody.